Hello, hello, hello. Come on now, we need to hit that 1,000 mark. I only see about 30, 40, 50 people. We're going 1,000.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby.
I think we're going to change this, David, to 15 minutes with Wade or something like that. Because I think about, every Wednesday we can do about 15 minutes. That would be great.
Sounds like a good idea to me, Wade. And you are live on YouTube if you want to roll. People are
All right,
there.
I'm ready then.
Yeah, you rock and roll.
I am excited and ready. I'm going to put my notes up here in front of me, where I can just kind of go refresh. All right, guys. We're going to talk every Wednesday, around 15 minutes, 20 minutes max, about different aspects of funding and some of the issues that may come up or some of the good things that happen through the funding process. I want to have a shout out to Nick DeHane, man. He had a Connect Cash funding yesterday, and folks, it's working. But let's talk about you getting an email. You just got an email. You're whether you're new or old, and an email states that your client accepted the funding offer. You cheering and excited about that. Hour later, you receive an email that says that it's declined for whatever reason, and all of a sudden the air comes out of you, and you're angry, and you feel like you need to lash out. Some of you, not everybody, because some of you are new and think that, oh my God, how can they tell me one thing and something else happens? Well, I'm going to talk to you about the entire funding process from the time the client says, hey, I'm ready to move forward. First of all, Bank Breezy will then, once they say that, order the funding contract from all of the lender partners that are the lender partner that we use to accept that particular funding. Then our entire team will look for any other documents that we got to gather. When we do order it, we have to resend the voided check, resend the driver's license, and resend all that to the lender partner along with the best contact number. Now, when that lender partner gets it, they may at that point say, you know what, we got a couple more steps. We want to have proof of ownership or AR report, for example, which are the two most common steps that they want. Now, the reason they're asking for proof of ownership is because they've gone to the SOS online, which is the Secretary of State, and they do that on every single person. And when they went there, they saw that it was really registering somebody else's name, or there's a multiple number of owners that are showing there, and this owner is saying, hey, I own 100% of it. So they can easily solve that by sending us their last filed tax return, or they can give us a operating agreement, or they could just give us an EIN page that's got their name on it. That's what you get when you establish a company with the IRS. They send that to you. Now, the main reason that they want to know proof of ownership is, let's just say they default, and the owner said, I never signed it. I'm the owner here, and you guys didn't take the time to find out who is the owner. So that's one of the things that can kind of slow things down a little bit if there is an issue there. And an AR report stands for accounts receivables. They just want to make sure sometimes that before, especially in construction, that you got other jobs going on. So they'll ask for that AR report. And if you don't have one, that's fine. Just send us a couple invoices of what your last couple of jobs have been, or what you're currently working on, and some of the invoices for contracts that are future that you're going to be getting to. Then, believe it or not, almost every lender does a social media check. They'll go on to see if there's anything out there they need to know. And this has happened actually as recently as 2 weeks ago, where they went on social media, and the guy that's borrowing the money is closing his restaurant for good, and they found that, and they wouldn't fund. So sometimes ignorance or I don't want to say stupidity, but putting things up on social media can come back to haunt you. It really can. And then of course they do the infamous background check, which we'll get into in a moment. But before the file can even be funded. Let's say they've done this and they're getting ready to talk to the client through a funding call or something of that nature. They first have to conduct what's called a bank verification. And one of the most common ways they do that is through a link that's called Decision Logic. Decision Logic is a private company used by financial institutions, insurance groups, that sort of thing, to verify bank accounts and information. The things that they're going to be looking for in a bank verification link is going to be, they're going to be looking, when they go to that link, they can't change anything, they can't take money out, they can't do anything. But they can look, and they can look back as much as 6 months if they want to on bank statements that are there, but they can't look at your private account. They can only look at the business bank account. And what they're looking for is, number one, is the account positive, and how many negative days have they had month to date? Well, when we go to the funding process, like right now, it's the 28th of the month. Well, we don't know what's happened in the month of June, so they need to go look back and see, and that's why they do a bank verification. If it's negative in the bank account and it's so bad that it shouldn't be, because they got 5 or 6 or 7 negative days, it's going to kill the deal. But if it's negative one or 2 days and it's only like $100 or maybe even 300 or 400 negative, then they're going to give the opportunity to the client to make it whole. They call me up, and then I get on the phone with them, and before the final underwriter ever sees it, they go ahead and we give them an opportunity to go down to the bank account and bank and make the account positive, or just transfer some money over, however they have to do it. That's the first thing they're looking for. The second thing that they're looking for is, did these folks take money during that month? Remember, today's the 28th. We don't know what they've done throughout the month of June to this point. And sometimes people try to double fund. Sometimes some unscrupulous brokers would tell them, you can double fund. We'll get you funded today, and then I'll get you funded through David Allen Capital on top of that. That's a no-no. And what you're telling them is not true, and they're hoping we don't do bank verification. That's just not the way you need to conduct business, because we're not going to double fund. Think about this. They did the underwriting based on the information they had, that you don't have another position, or you only have one, you don't have 2 outstanding. And then they see that next one pop up that you just got funded a couple of days ago, or a week or 2 ago. And they didn't know that week or 2 ago that they didn't know about that funding that took place a week or 2 ago. So that will kill the deal too. And finally, the final thing is, they're going to look at, are the month to date consistent to what's been happening every month for this client. For example, let's say that and we just had one that, and we're still trying to get through it, that we offered $32,000 for. Well, they just did a month to date, and their month to date as of last week was only like 11,000. Well, that's way off from what it has been. So they're going to either lower the amount or just walk away from the deal completely. So those are just some information that you need to understand that can happen after they've signed everything, but they got to get that bank verification. I will tell you though, A lenders out there, the A lenders don't even do a bank verification. They don't even do a funding call. They don't call the client up and do any type of call whatsoever. They look at what you've done previously, and that's what they bank it on. And really, you'd think they'd have more defaults than anybody. They have way less defaults because they've done all their underwriting up front, and they feel confident about that client. Okay. Well, let's talk about that big bear out there called the background check, because that probably kills more deals than anything. All the lenders do background checks, whether upfront or at the end. Unfortunately, some of the C and D lenders do the background checks at the very end after they've already gotten the bank verification done. They've already done everything. I mean, it's very frustrating, but it's the way they do business, or you don't do business with them. And they'll do that background check and they're going to look for a few things. Number one, any criminal history. And some of these lenders can go back 20 years, which, I try to talk them through that. But most of them look at the last 10 years. If you've had really a very a horrible type crime, such as murder, or if you abuse children in any way, or if you beat your spouse and you got convicted, you're not going to get funded with almost every lender out there. These are just kind of the three big ones, or any financial issues where you hided checks or anything of that nature. They look at that, and I can't tell you legally what's going on there, and I'm not going to. We just simply say that they don't qualify for funding. And that's why you see a lot of those, because I'm not going to get into it. As I told the story last week, I made a mistake and told a rep some of the information, but not all of it. And they immediately called the client after telling me they wouldn't. So some of the other things you're going to be looking for in the background is, I tell you financial crimes, but defaults. They're looking to see if you have defaulted in this industry. Now, there are a couple funders out there that will actually fund defaults, but you're not going to, you're going to be paying 60% by the time they add their fees on. It could be in the 70s for the money. We don't want to deal with that. And plus, you got to do a quick turnaround of 2 or 3 months to pay it back. It's just crazy. Also, they're going to look for bankruptcy. If you file bankruptcy in the last 5 years, you probably aren't going to get funded. But if it's discharged or what have you, then, or it might have been a reorganization bankruptcy, and you've got everything working fine now. As long as it's dismissed from the courts, then we can probably help them. And then the final thing they're looking for is massive tax liens. Now, tax liens are not an issue, even if you owe $500,000 if you're on payments. And so that just brings another layer of what we have to do at Bank Breezy that you don't see or hear about. We have to go through and get evidence of this kind of thing so we can save the deal. Most brokers are lazy. I shouldn't say brokers, ISO groups like they're just lazy. They're lazy. They're not going to do all that. We do all that stuff. Another thing that can really affect things is when they have looked at the SOS, which I told you is the Secretary of State, and they see that the entities are set up differently, and it could be an ownership issue. It could be that they say they're a sole prop, but they're an LLC, or they say they're incorporated and they're really they're not a corporation, they're an LLC. And then we have to go in the background and contact the client, get all this fixed. Sometimes they have to go to the bank to get it fixed on their bank accounts. There's a lot of little tiny things that we do that you have no idea. And I try to, with our team, show them how to go ahead and on the front end, let's get all this fixed. So when we get a file in, sometimes we miss it, but we don't. And the file says Bill's Garage Incorporated, but the bank statements say Bill's Garage LLC, then we have to get all that fixed before we send it to the underwriters, because we know what's going to happen. Finally, and also let's talk about ownerships too. A lot of times you'll see where the wife owns the business, but 6 months ago she didn't. The business went under and they opened in another name. Trust me, anytime you default and all that, that follows you. I don't care. Everybody tied to that household, they'll know something about. And you just can't get around most of these underwriters. They're really, really, really good. And then the final thing is fraud. A lot of these bank statements don't get caught into the senior underwriter, or they put it into their electronic system. Their algorithms show that these bank statements have been fraudulently changed. I've got 2 of them this morning. And so, I was, instead of me killing them like I have done in the past, I knew they were fraudulent, but on the lenders that we send, we got a great relationship. And I say, hey, listen, I kind of think it, but you tell me. And 99% of the time I am right about that. So some lenders in this space do what's called an ID verification, which instead of doing a funding call, they send text messages. You click on it, it will, and they'll ask you something to complete, and it verifies who you really are. But as I said at the beginning, paper lenders don't do that. I got a great offer this morning with On Deck. I'm sure we're gonna fund that in a few hours. But it was such a phenomenally good offer for the client because of his industry type and everything that I would have to tell the guy he would, even if he didn't need the money, it'd be worth being tied into On Deck for future. And especially one thing that some of our lenders do is if you, let's say you owed 50,000 left on your funding and you got I don't know, a few months and we can get your renewal. What some of the lenders, not all of them, most of them won't do this, but some of the lenders like On Deck will literally wipe away all that remaining cost of funds, the interest, as you would call it, portion of it. So that concludes what I've got to talk about today, David. And I just I'll take questions or what have you if they on any of this stuff. If anybody's got anything they want to ask me.
You guys can use your virtual hand raise if you have any questions.
Right.
David, if that's you talking, I think you're breaking up.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I can't understand anything you're saying. Maybe you want to get there you go, you get your video off.
Well, we've got a hand up, so we can go to
Hear me.
Lavania. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Mute. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Wade. I had my first funding for a dance studio, and I was very surprised at first that they went through the process. I got a decline, credit worthy, and my file was closed. And I think a day or two later, it came up that said, "Congratulations, they finished the application." I was like, okay, whatever, you know.
Well, let me tell you what happened there. I'm very familiar with that file. Everybody turned them down. But I got a great relationship, and I say I mean David, myself, Bank Breezy, and David Allen Capital. And they always look at our files again. And a second look by one of the fund heads said, you know what, let's give this one a shot. I think they're going to be good. And they approved it. And the client said, yes, we funded it. It could have been killed and walked away, but we try to, every time one's killed, and I look at it on my team and say, man, I don't really get the reasoning behind this. I think that it might or might not should have been funded. And we go and challenge them, and they go relook, and that's what happened on that one.
Well, I'm very thankful for that. I have been talking to the person. I know she probably wanted more because I know what her vision is, but I had reached back out to her and just let her know it's like, this is the beginning, stay in contact. When you get halfway paid off, just reapply, see what happens, get your funds in order, get things in order, and we'll be there to be able to help you. So she was grateful for that. And she sent me a text saying that. So is that, I don't know if dance studios can be small, and some of them are small. And as far as Connect Cash, she might have some other businesses that she can refer to. So just send her.
Well, I tell you what, Morgan, if she's interested in Connect Cash, send an email in, the business name and all, and let Morgan and them handle that. And yeah, you want to get them set up. And by the way, it really didn't have much to do with revenue, just so you know.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate these calls.
Thank you. I appreciate your input.
Awesome. And it looks like that's our only hand up. So with that,
Was David trying to get in?
Yes. So he was breaking up a bit. So he just sent over what he'd like for me to announce.
And,
So I'll
and
just
Matt's got his hand raised, and then that,
Oh,
we'll
there
let
we
that
go.
be the last one.
All right, Matt, you go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hey, hey guys, just real quick. I want to just tell everybody here why the company is doing as well as it does, why the company's grown. It's because Wade and his team are that diligent with these underwriters, and they respect, or they're looking forward to the files that they receive from Bank Breezy, obviously, or DAC, because he does the screening, because he takes that time and he's got that experience. So that's another reason why we have as many good providers, the ones that he's able to pick from. So I just use this as a leverage when I talk to clients. I say, we've got the best funders under one roof, one tent, and we're going to get you the best offer. You just know that. And just going into your calls initially when you're talking to these folks, just know it, because that confidence, they hear it in your voice. And just so it's like, well, I have to convince myself that we're the best. Just know we are, because of what they do on the back end. That's all. I just want to add that. And that's
Thank you,
why I
Matt.
can do it. Yeah, man.
I appreciate it, man. You guys are doing, you and Nick are just, y'all are so wonderful. I appreciate it. All right, go ahead and tell us what David wanted to announce.
Yes, just a reminder, be on Friday's Zoom at 11:30 Eastern if you want to learn about the launch of the instant business funding up to 10K in under 10 minutes. So we'll be talking about that on Friday. And then, like Wade had said, if you have a business owner that has received funding with us and is interested in Connect Cash, you can send that in either to support or write to me, morgan@davidallencapital.com, and we'll send them the info.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for being here, guys. Have a great week.
Holiday weekend. Yeah.